Our friends takes a stick and draws a map in the dirt of the road we take to Canada. The good folks carry you on, he says. You're almost to freedom now. Over there the trees, the sun comes up. The dark pines glow like gold. Freedom. I take a deep breath when I let go. My voice flies up in a song. My own song, running in the sunshine and dancing through the fields. I'll jump every fence in my way. Freedom rings out. I was born in 1795 in Virginia to Daucus Malvin, a free Prince William County woman, and a man enslaved to a wealthy planter. A child took their mother's status. This is why John Malvin is a freedman. Though I was an apprentice, I was treated little better than a slave myself. I was supplied every year with one pair of shoes, 2 pairs of linen pantaloons, 1 pair of cotton pantaloons, and a Negro cotton round jacket. My food consisted of 1 peck of cornmeal a week. Sometimes I received a supply of salt. I was obliged to other means to obtain food. Working alongside my father, I was trained in the carpenter's trade. After watching others who could read, I became possessed of a desire to learn to read. At night, an old slave with a Bible secretly instructed me. We did not dare to talk loud, lest we should be overheard, and had to confine ourselves to whispers. Such was the means and circumstance under which I learned to read and spell. I lived with my parents in Virginia. Though I had begun to preach and tried to read every opportunity I could get, whenever I could obtain a paper or a book. Then at 33, seized by a spirit of adventure, I received my proof of freedom from a state court and left Virginia bearing nothing but my freedom papers and an extra shirt. I thought upon coming to a free state like Ohio that I would find every door thrown open to me. But from that treatment I received by the people generally, I found it little better than Virginia. William J., son of the first Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court, wrote of the Ohio Valley prejudice against the Negro, attains its rankest luxuriance not in the swamps of Georgia, not to the sugar fields of Louisiana, but upon the prairies of Ohio. In March, I married Miss Harriet Dorsey in Cincinnati. But in 5 months, the couple moved to Louisville, Kentucky, then to Middleton, where they worked for the owner's wife enslaved father, Caleb Dorsey, as Mrs. Malvin did not want to leave her father. It lay so heavily upon her that she gave me no rest. Seeing her unwillingness to go to Canada and her fears that she would never see her father again, I concluded to give up the farm, and my wife, having taken a fancy to Cleveland, was determined to go back and settle there. Settled in Cleveland, I took a cook's job on a schooner, and we began to save money to purchase Mr. Dorsey, who was 60. Then Mrs. Malvin left for Kentucky with $100 down and promissory notes. She alone would negotiate her father's release from Mr. Hudson, his owner. I described our decision in these words. I sent my wife to Kentucky with the money and a note. And on paying $100 and delivering these notes, her father was released and came with her to Cleveland. One wonders if my strong-willed woman, who gave me no rest on this issue, had simply decided to make the trip on her own. In 1840, I purchased a canal boat from S.R. Hutchinson and Company. My boat, which was called the Auburn, was engaged in conveying wheat and merchandise on the Ohio Canal. The boat was a good passenger packet, with good cabins, and her former owners concluded to buy back, which they did. They then employed me as captain to manage her. Changes came to Cleveland during the Civil War. A local paper hosted that colored children attend all our public school, and colored people are permitted to attend all public lectures and public affairs, and no one is offended. Day and I, along with John Brown, other activists had achieved their share of victories over bigotry, but even their efforts had not ended Cleveland's color line. Until 1870, black people could not serve on Cleveland juries. The Academy of Music still only seated black patrons in the balcony, and streetcars remained segregated. The legal system improved somewhat, but still a city justice system convicted and jailed people of color, but did not send white people to prison for the same crimes. People of color were punished far more severely for committing crimes against whites than against other African Americans. After the Civil War, I became a distinguished son of Ohio, a noted Republican speaker, and a man white newspapers said had served the cause of humanity and who has labored hard for the elevation of the colored race. In 1879, I finished my autobiography, an optimistic work I called An Authentic Account of 50 Years of Struggle in Ohio in behalf of the American slave and the equal rights of all men. I unfortunately died the next year at the age of 85. My wife's death was not recorded. In the Cleveland Leader newspaper, they eulogized me as a noble and worthy man whose thoughts were of his people. When Julia Foote, a former slave who became an evangelist, said, "I shall praise God through all eternity for sending me to Cleveland," she also should have thanked the Malvins. Freedom, just freedom has come to us. All right.